Jason Gringler. This is my Berlin studio. I'm from Toronto, Canada originally. I lived in New York for about a decade, and I've been in this studio since June 2018, having moved from New York to Berlin in late 2017. I work with a lot of different industrial materials, predominantly mirrors, glass, acrylic mirror, steel, expanded steel, a variety of adhesives to bond different materials together. I have 2 rooms at the studio. One I use for more toxic things. The other one is sort of partial showroom, as well as a very small welding facility for welding and grinding metal, basic steel work. I don't have a lot of tools. I keep the place fairly pared down. I like to see what kind of constraints I can use in my practice through limitations and see what I come up with, sort of working against those things. A lot of the works you see have sort of destructive looking marks embedded in the pieces because a lot of the work, probably 50% of my output fails, and so when I destroy a work I actually recycle the materials. I put them in a pile for reuse, and so a lot of the destructive gestures that you see are actually from making a mistake in production, destroying the work, reusing the materials, repurposing them, and reconstructing new works as a result. And this is a mesh monolith that I've been working on for an upcoming project here in Berlin. Studio is pretty clean. I'm very organized, maybe some minor OCD, but I like the place to be extremely efficient. It's a nice sunny spring day, even though we're in the middle of a global health pandemic. There aren't a lot of industrial areas in Berlin, at least that I'm aware of, and so I got quite lucky with this. I'm still very central Berlin, but it is this sort of industrial complex, about a 10-minute bike ride from my apartment. You see, materials are pretty organized. I'll take you into the second room in a minute. Here you have a lot of different things combined, glass compressed together, acrylic glass, you have photographic gel spray paint, UV epoxy resin, expanded steel, regular mirrored glass. When I first moved into the studio, there was no heat, and so the first winter was brutally cold. And I actually started using concrete as a result of the temperature change. A lot of the materials for the glass paintings don't function very well in the cold, and the adhesives I use to bond the materials are drying from UV rays, so in Berlin winter that doesn't work very well. And so I started using concrete as a replacement tool because it functions really quite well in cold temperatures. This one's plaster rather than concrete, but similar idea. Concrete cures quite quickly, and heat or cold really is irrelevant. So this really was a nice way to deal with the environmental limitations that I had in the studio. Just some sawhorses that I made the other day. I'll give you a little bit more in a second. So you can see these are cut up former glass pieces where I've reused the materials and combined them or embalmed a number of materials within the plaster here. The plaster is rusting as a result of some of the steel that's inside. Here you see the pretty blunt destructive gestures that I was sort of talking about earlier. Really need that chop saw. Most important tool, I guess. And that's sort of it.